in describing the indigenous ceremonial change process and the four phases that are sequencing that lead to the practical and realistic application. The third phase is what I'm calling reframing. And reframing is out of one thinking system into another thinking system, even though when I say into another thinking system, it's actually restoring and reclaiming our original thinking system existing within us of how we're all created, that our whole brain thinking is our conscience and moral reasoning. And so this third phase called reframing is out of the Eurocentric dualistic inverse thinking system, in which I described as the belief in a deficient self-image that requires a remediation process out of this deficient self-image towards some goal, some purpose, and some desired end state. And that's actually the root cause of external oppression. And external oppression gets internalized. We internalize it, and then it causes depression. And depression is the feeling of being immobilized with the belief that there's no solution, but it's a belief and it's totally not true. And we have to know and understand and teach each other that it is not true. It's life-saving in any suicide ideation and suicide attempts, whether they're high risk or low risk, to implement this peer education about the internalized oppression is a belief that there's no solution, when in fact it's totally not true. And the reframing is when I say into, I'm speaking about reclaiming, when I say I'm really talking about awakening and the remembering and awakening of our original state within Hojo context of the natural order laws that govern us equally. That this reframe into indigenous affirmative thinking is how our brain is originally created and designed. We all know that it's like a figure eight. We all have right brain and left brain, and we call it whole brain thinking. So this idea of binary thinking or compartmentalized thinking or dualistic thinking is just totally erroneous. That is not how our brain functions. Our brain is functioning according to our whole brain thinking. And that's what I'm calling conscience and moral reasoning, because our language identifies our whole brain as conscience. And we call that ehwalzen, holy thinking. And we add on also Alila and Sahakis, which is the miracle of our clear and congruent thinking in order to plan and make decisions accordingly that are constructive and life affirming. So the reframe process is the correction. When I say correction and I use the word healing, I'm talking about curing. This is not a temporary coping mechanism. It is restoring our thinking to the appropriate. function of our conscience and whole brain thinking. And I might add that I use these words synonymously, that whole brain thinking as conscience and moral reasoning with also intuition and creative imagination. Now, the creative imagination is where our co-creativity we access with creator, with ourself, and with others. And that's how we achieve group consensus. That means we agree about what is destructive and death producing, and we understand and agree what is constructive and life affirming, and we choose accordingly to those outcomes and benefits for our collective conscience. And that means that we all understand the basic fundamental equality of our constitution of the four sacred elements. And when we know that we are existing in the body of earth, water, fire, air, in the environment of earth, water, fire, and air, the only choice we would make is to choose life. And we would leave this legacy for the next generation of youth. We would not be continuing and perpetuating, recruiting the next generation to participate in their own demise of warfare and warmongering, because all war is war against children. It's against the next generation. In values clarification of what we value and what we cherish, we want to give the legacy of life and not the legacy of violence and suffering and death. I mean, that's not even humane. That is something that we call hocho. And hocho is a word describing just flippantly a world of where everything that is no good and doesn't work is what we're valuing and cherishing and perpetuating. So that's how blunt I'm going to say it, how it is in our language of naming. And the clarity of our language is always, it's diagnostic and it's always describing. And so in my describing and defining and illustrating, I want to get across the magnitude of this reframe process, because humanity is continuing to stay in pseudo community, always resulting in chaos. And pseudo community is from M. Scott Peck's book, A Different Drum, where he defines all the formal structure of what is might be efficient, but it's not effective in terms of our healthy helping and also of providing our needs accordingly, instead of taking advantage of people and defrauding people. And that's what is currently still happening. Let's do a values clarification process of what we value and cherish. And I sincerely put the importance on this reframing, that each of us would be authentic in choosing life, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones and for our future generations to walk on this beauty way path. When we say beauty, that means that all life is beautiful. and we see the beauty, therefore we can love. And all of this is generated from our sincere caring of taking care of ourself, taking care of each other, and taking care of the earth, water, fire, and air. That is the reframe process from a thinking system that is not beneficial to us to a thinking system that is collectively beneficial and inclusive to all of us.